What's good, everybody? Back once again, and another thing I seen from you know the Gilbert Arena show, Gil's Arena. They was talking about rings versus money. Now, you know, all of them basically got money to some extent, and basically, I'm saying like Rashad didn't get his second contract. Brandon was able to get a second one, and he messed tore up his knee and I was like, it's Achilles. Man, it's been a while since I thought about that. And then Gilbert, his injuries got him as well, but he was able to get the big bag of that time, and basically he said like he could have got more that he didn't, so that the team could use it to do other things, and that he would have known. But basically, with hindsight, he would have basically taken the money. Now, his perspective was different than Miko and Rashad's perspective. Basically, that Gilbert was like, "No, always take the money. Bump this. They're billionaires. Let them figure it out." You know. Whereas Rashad and Miko was trying to say that basically that if you have the ring and you're able to still get a good amount of money, then you sort of that was like then that's better. Now Gilbert's like no, cause that 50 million you missed out on 50 million, while and they were doing the comparison while doing Harden versus Robert Ory. I didn't like the comparison mainly because I was like Harden a star player versus Ory that's a role player. Ory's over here with a bunch of rings, Harden with none. And reason I don't like that is one, I was like they're talking about the bag that Harden got, which is like 200 over 200 million, while Ori only got like 54 to his career because Harden is still playing, so you can always earn more. But to me, I'm like, but I guess my thing is that I'm like, but depending on what you are, rings are important, and it doesn't have to be a media thing where it's like the legacy or whatever, because I'm like, if you still want, because I'm like, especially them being basketball players, they're gonna be able to tell me more than anybody or any of us about who was good at the sport, even if they didn't win anything. I'm like, a lot of people still like, Charles Barkley, one of the greatest power forwards of all time. He ain't won a ring, you know, but but then you got to think of like other people of like, if Tim Duncan didn't win any rings, he was really great, but would he be ranked so high or whatever? And then does like the amount of rings really get to have you in some ranking or whatever? Does that, how big does that count in what you're in like the game you're playing? Um, and basically like Gilbert was saying that basically you selling your rings, I was like that people out here selling their rings that best they could have used the money, which doesn't always equate to those being like the top people that selling. Because I was like, the dude that was like number 13 on the bench, he wasn't getting paid, so therefore he gonna have to sell his ring. So I was like, I didn't like that argument, but also too, I was like, I would rather like somebody like Harden be compared to like somebody like Steph. Big contracts, but one has 4 rings and the other one has none. And instead of like role player, because the thing is, if you're sort of within the rotation of like 8 to 10, I was like, 10 is being, really like, I was like, I'm giving them more credit because really it's like most of them it's 8-man rotations. Then something like that helps you. Like Robert Orr, if he had no rings, probably wouldn't be able to be out here talking on like sometimes he'll doing games and talking on like sometimes he's on like the NBA Network and stuff like that. Um, and but there's a couple other people too that's like I'm like, you having some type of championship gives you maybe I was like I think that one of the argument they didn't use is that gets you in the room more than I think money. Mainly because I'm like, okay, cool, you're a $300 million player, and I'm like, I was like, yes, you got the money to make deals all willy nilly, but a lot of the people that you're making deals with are also like fans. They all like they're like, oh, So I'm like, I was like, now granted, it's also maybe like where you play for, cause like Magic, although he did win, he is also with the Lakers, so that's a big shine. But things like, but winning a championship gives you sort of the shine, and I'm like, when you go in some of these places, some of these spots, I was like, if you're a top enough player, like you don't have to be. I'm not talking about like main player on the team, but a top player on the team where somebody's like, oh snap, I remember you helped, you know that's a lot different than being like, oh yeah, I was like, oh you was on the on the like the Cavaliers to when I don't even know who you are, like but like Delly, Matthew Dellavedova. Guess what? Him being in that situation is a lot better for him and his career where he's able to go than if he probably had a boatload of cash. And I'm not saying that money doesn't make a difference, but to me, I'm like, you at 200 million and you at like 50 million. Which this was one of Gil's points, basically that like 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 you gonna go broke, and I was like, you go broke having 200 million, because I was like, there's a lot of players that used to just go broke because of like trusting the wrong people or whatever. I was like, Rashad McCann sort of like gave a story about how he was getting like duped out of money. So if anything, I'm like, it doesn't matter, about like losing money. I was like, if you're gonna lose it, you're gonna lose it. You having $50 extra million. I was like, maybe you come to your senses before you lose like any more. But if you're losing money at the rate you're losing money, you're going to lose that money just as much. Now, I was like, from me as a regular person, of course, I'm over here like, yo, this dumb. $10 million changed my life, so I'll take 2 rings of $10 million compared to. And I was like, so I was like, I can't. So I can't really come at it from that perspective. I'm just trying to think of when you're already on that playing level, you sort of know what kind of player you are. You know if you're the franchise player or you're not. So therefore, I was like, and that's why I don't like the Harden Horry comparison, because I'm like, Harden as the franchise player is always going to be able to earn more money compared to any role player, because he already basically was like, okay, this is your contract. You getting like basically, if you're sort of like either the franchise or like one of the corners, you're going to get the max contract, so you don't have to worry about money. And I was like, whereas especially now compared to back then, you actually had to negotiate for however much money you was actually really going to get, more so than nowadays where they just I was like, until like recently they pretty much giving you the cap or whatever you can earn. So there's already that, but also at the same hand, I was like, if I'm a role player, or I'm like like number 4 in the option, or I'm just a 3-and-D guy, my mind's already locked of like what I can make. If I can only make like 60 million, cool. I was like, but I was like, there, whereas like I'm there. I was like, I might be more mad over the money I miss out on than Harden, who, with that, shoes, commercials, sport ads, and stuff like that, you always are going to be in the circle of money. Yes, at some point you're not going to make money, and because you're done playing, it runs out. Yes, so it's like, yes, get all the money that you can, but and with that, a good thing is how people talk about like the Cowboys, how you play on the Cowboys can pretty much guarantee you a spot in basically some type of sports media. At least until like up to now, but even then, Aikman, I was like Whitman, Garrett, Dak, when he leaves, he'll get it as well. I was like, pretty much you gotta earn a spot. So it's like almost like I was like, in Lakers sort of the same thing. Like there's some times where like it makes sense to take less because you know that that's going to help you long term or whatever. So now if you think you like for instance, but like on the Dirk, yeah, I was like once he should have sort of pulled a Kobe where it was like, all right, I'm 35. There's no I'm too old to pretty much where you're gonna give me the super team. I might as well just take the money. I was like, and in that situation I could see it. So now, but I think, I was like, it's one of them things that you can't truly answer until you pretty much are done. But if you get one ring, or maybe it needs to be two rings in order for it to feel like something. But I feel like if you got other opportunities outside of the NBA, and it's not me trying to count somebody else's money, pocket watch them, all that type of thing. Because I mean, that everybody had a problem with that. But in my head, I'm like, if you're sort of gonna be done where you might not, because not everybody's gonna get chances to keep on doing stuff after the NBA, whether that's calling the game, being on a TV show. I was like, not everybody gonna have successful podcasts. Like right now it's cool because it's still brand new, but once everybody starts doing it, then I was like, it's gonna get oversaturated. Things gonna dwindle. That just can't help it. That's how it's gonna be. But that it's like take all the money you can, but at the same time, if you have two championships, you're going to be able to be remembered and I'm not even talking about like legacy rank and that type of thing, but I'm like being impressionable amongst the people you need to sit in these rooms with. Because the thing is like, once you start sitting in a room with a lot of these people that got this type of money, everybody got this type of money. But you don't know, your rings might just be enough to be like that person that you sitting across from watched you when you was growing up. That's a big deal. Don't tell me, don't get me wrong. Like that don't mean that they're gonna do a stupid thing of like taking, like your money just because. But any little thing, I was like, can sort of help, because like when you're at that playing level, everybody else is also sort of at that playing level. So what do you got that's different? Maybe that little bit of fame, maybe that little bit of like being a key player or the star player or something like that helps you out. That's how I was thinking about the rings versus the money, more so than their way of doing it, because I was like, it was really money versus like competitiveness, and I'm like, I was like, the competitiveness didn't really work for me, just because of like basically that's like I'll play if I was like I'll play for free, and I was like, no, that's not really the argument that I think is able to win against what we're doing here. But anyway, I was like, you liked anything I had to say, or you got something different? Let me know. Tell me about it. But if not, hey, maybe next time. But until then, peace. I'm out.